Hello traders, Chris Buss here with Traders Profit Compass with your mid-session update for Thursday, June 10th. It is 12:27 as I'm starting the video. Okay, just to bring everybody up to speed, we had that hot inflation print this morning at 5%, I think it was. Yeah, 5%, a little more than expected. But as we discussed in earlier videos, that was pretty much dismissed and kind of baked in the cake. As far as the market was concerned, everybody was expecting a hot print. And what's really interesting is after an initial pop on rates, that has since been faded. And I think at last check, I thought TLT was pretty much flat or maybe even up a little bit. So anyways, a lot of fast moving action this morning. Let's break it down and see where we're at, see what happened, look at maybe some potential trades for this afternoon and beyond. Okay, on the 2-hour chart, we had a gap up and an initial surge, and we had the open gap below. They reversed it and came back down and backfilled the gap, came back to the closing price of yesterday. So we got a complete gap backfill. If you were on top of it and you had your wits about yourself, that would have been a great place to try along on that gap backfill. And I know it's scary because, you know, that bar is totally red and looking pretty mean on the way down, but it did stop where it was supposed to stop. And that's what these levels are for, to, you know, kind of guide you in that process. And then they bought it right back up, and now we sit above the prior highs at little above 423. Now this afternoon, bulls want to see that 423 hold. You don't want to, you know, fade it back down here, because then a break below 423 would lead you to believe it's going to come back to 421.50. So I would use your afternoon pivot as 423 and then see if that can hold, and then move up to the prior highs if we can finish strong. If it's a weak close and you had gotten long in here, if you get a pullback below 423, I think you'd probably want to exit that. You know, depending on time frame is everything. I'm talking about very active traders. But, I mean, the market looks good so far. We are at new highs. There's no natural sellers. So my expectation is this 423 will hold in the afternoon. Similar kind of action on the Qs. There was no gap up. We opened right where the close was yesterday. We got a big impulse higher, and then they came back and back tested that 337 right to the penny, and then they bought it back up again. Now, a little bit different scenario on the Qs. Why? Because I've got this level at like 339.75, and you can see prices just below it. So I would view that as a little bit vulnerable there at this level, and I would want to see that hold. Maybe you can see it better on the 2-hour. You know, I would like to see, to keep, you know, the bullish impulse intact. I would want to see this 339.75. You know, if price can get above that and maybe even take out the morning high, I mean, I think that would be great, and then that would open the door to 342. You know, as long as it stays below, I think a little bit vulnerable to a pullback. And here we got this 337. You know, we've got a level here, and I don't have it marked in at 338 right here. I think you can see that level of resistance there that was taken out and then came back to 338 and held, and then have moved higher. So let's call it 338. I think that's a better number. As long as we stay above 338, I think the bulls are definitely in control there. So let's see if we can even move a little bit higher and take out the morning highs up near 340. Not as nice a day for IWM. So everybody has, impulsed into growth, and the value cyclical trade, they backed off from the top of the channel down to the bottom of the channel. So we're down right here at 229. That's really got to hold. That's really got to hold this afternoon. And if it does, that's a great entry point to try along. Why? You're at support, and you're at both lateral support at 229, and you've also got up channel support as well. So it should hold, and if it doesn't, that's pretty bearish. Then you could open the door back down into 227 and 226 and 225 back there. So I really want this to hold right here, and it's a very objective place to try along. And if you do that, set your stop just below, and then honor it. If it breaks, you have to honor it. But I think that's a great location to try along on IWM. The 30-minute channel has been drawn a little bit different. You can see that on this view, we drop down below 230 here. But you can see the selling has abated, and this 229 is held. I'm going to go off the 2-hour chart. I think it's a little bit better draw, and I would use that as your pivot point in the afternoon for IWM, and see if we can jump back above 230 and hold the line here this afternoon, and then have a good entry point on a long with a stop just below. Let's move into FANG real quick, or FATMAAN. Soggy day for Facebook. Nothing really going on. Maintain 330 as a pivot. What the bulls need to do is obviously hold 330 and then take out this 332.25, and then that would open the door back up towards the highs. But you certainly don't want to see 330 fail on Facebook. Very interesting action on Apple. Impulsive move right up to 128 and rejected right back to the open. So, I mean, we know one thing for sure, that 128 is real. I mean, we had a touch here, actually went above, got slammed back down. We had a reach up here that failed, and then we had a big move this morning, right to resistance, and then slammed back down. So, I mean, we know that's a real level, which down the road will be even more important, because when it does finally break out, we will know that is a real level, and then we can shoot long against that, after we get that breakout. But for this afternoon, 126.5 is your pivot. This is held for the last few days, so that's an important level to hold. You don't want to see that break below, or then it opens the door for a backslide back to 124.50. Tesla's had a decent morning, up 2%, moving up here, kind of in no man's land. I mean, if you've been long against 595, just stay long and see if you can make 625 up here at overhead resistance, and see if you can get that move this afternoon or tomorrow. See if there's good follow through there. Microsoft, really nice move. Moved up off the open, went right up to our gap resistance, backed off, and then broke through. I took this long here on the gap entry. I am in 257.5 calls for next Friday, June expiration. So obviously my goal here is to get a gap fill up to 262. And if I got that in kind of quick order, I would probably either close it or roll higher once that gap fill was complete. That's my target. This afternoon, if you're not in it and you got a back test of 256, I would give it a try. I would give it a try long if this came back. That wouldn't be that unusual. And try to get along at 256 with a stop just below, and then shoot for the gap fill. But really nice price action in Microsoft, and I was really pleased to see that gap be entered. So I like that long right now. Amazon, nice moves. I mean, Amazon seems to be getting some legs under itself. Big impulsive move to take out this 3,300 that we talked about this morning, taking out these various resistance levels that have been a problem for the last month and a half. And so now we've broken out. Now we got to hold it. Any back test has to hold 3,300. If you got that and you wanted to be long, I would be long against 3,300 with a stop just below. But all systems look go for Amazon here, and the next technical target is 3,350. So that's looking good. Google looking great as well. Got the impulsive move right up to our first target of 24.30. You can see prices backed off a few times. Now the next technical event will be taking out this 24.30, which was the prior high back here off of that. I think this was an earnings report or something back here, but that was the prior high. So once 24.30 is taken out, blue sky territory, no natural sellers. So even if you haven't been in, Google this whole time, if the market looks constructive and you break out to an all-time highs you got to buy, because then there are no natural sellers. And I think you could get a move up here into 24.80ish at the top of this channel, and then we could take it from there. Probably be a reaction, I would expect. But anything above 24.30 I think is a buy. Netflix. Somebody said there was some news this morning. We came down here and bounced up a little bit. Looks like they faded it. So, I mean, it held the line. It held where it had to. So if you're long against 485, I think you're fine. Just set your stop below. But all things considered, not very, dramatic bullish action in Netflix. It still seems like it's kind of soggy and not really giving some power moves like the other names. Semis, very much the same kind of action that we saw in SPY and the Qs. Impulsive move, came all the way back to back test the open, and now is grinding higher. So anything north of 248.50, I think you can be long with a look towards 252 as an upside target. And, so use 248.50 as your pivot. You don't want to see price lose that, because then that will look like a failed move and then subject to, selling off down below here. So I think you're okay as long as 248.50 holds. Now I want to zip through. This morning I had done a little analysis on the airline sector with the comments like things are getting kind of shaky, guys, and to watch it. And, just running through a lot of red candles on this, on the airlines. American probed below but is now just holding trendline support. Alaska, red candle, below all the moving averages, coming down, getting close to testing this 64. I would certainly put an alarm there. Be ready if that breaks. Big price void below. Copa, making another move lower, testing this 75. Big old air pocket below. I want you to have an alarm at 75. If that breaks, I think that's going to be a great risk reward trade. You're below the 200, below technical support with a gigantic gap below. That has the potential of making a dramatic move lower if you get that break. JetBlue, that's a sell signal, breaking both uptrend support and lateral support. I mean, that's on a sell signal right there. So that's one. If you want to wait for kind of get confirmation from some of the other airlines breaking down, that's fine. But that's, this is the first crack. This is our first sell signal, confirmed sell signal. If it closes the day down below 1850, I mean, that's your first sell signal in the group. So take note of that. Love, down move, right to this support line. Set your alarm at 57.50, 57, wherever you're interested in taking that trade. And be ready. What is this one? Spirit. Probing technical support here at 34. I would set your alarm there. And if you wanted to, you could give it a little extra room. You've got a low down here at 33. You've got a low here at 33.50. So if you wanted to be a little bit more generous with your support line, you could move that down to 33.50, 33, wherever you see fit. Maybe I've got it a little bit tight here, but the fact remains, momentum's coming out below the zero line. That's bearish. RSI bleeding off below 50. That's bearish. Price below all the moving averages. That's bearish. And you've got a descending right triangle, which is bearish as well. So, the factors are stacking up with Spirit here. United came down and touched trendline support and the 50 EMA. I'd have an alarm at 55, something like that, in case this were to break here. Because if that breaks, you're coming down to 53 immediately, and probably actually coming down towards the 200, down at 50. I didn't show this one this morning, but this is Hawaiian Airlines. Look at that candle, 10%, 9.53%. Fake breakout and a big, big slam down here, down 10%. So now that looks like a double top with bearish divergence. Higher momentum here, lower momentum at this peak. That's bearish divergence. You got the same thing on RSI. So, I mean, that's a very bearish look on Hawaiian. I want to wrap up the video with BTU, our coal play. Got a breakout. We had this initial impulsive move up to 875, wherever that's at, and then we got a quick and fast sell-off that actually trapped me. I had rolled up my strikes here, didn't get out fast enough, and this bar got me, and I got trapped. So, as it stands now, price has, effectively bailed me out, which I'm very thankful for. But now we got a breakout. So now if you're long, you can ratchet up your stops and your strikes to, let's call it 850. And as long as, 850, 875 holds, we got an open door for higher prices. I want to show you the weekly chart as well. This is the whole thing that we had been planning on, playing for, anticipating. We had this breakout here at around 550, and we noted this big void, and now we've gotten this move. And I think the door is open to like 1150. So I'm hopeful we can get that move up here to 1150, and then that would be, it gets tougher after that. We got some resistance going back in the chart, but that's still, I mean, that's still 20% from here, from 9 to 11. That still represents a very significant move. So that trade has worked nicely. Just to tie up loose ends, I did close Yeti this morning. Gave some back. There was an initial opening high. I did not catch that high. It sold off some. I think I closed it around 94 on the way back. So that was good for a double. So I'm out of Yeti. And so that's where I stand on those, on that fast trade from the other day on that breakout above 90. So that's where we stand. Let's see how we wrap up the afternoon, and we'll take it from there. And remember, I know it's not easy. I mean, I was getting a little bit discombobulated myself this morning on that opening surge, and then they pulled the rug. But when you get like that, or you feel yourself getting a little bit unstable, just take a step back mentally. Don't look at the money. Look at the chart, right? Because if you look at the money, it's going to distort things. If you go back and look at the charts, as we just did, price came back right to where it was supposed to and stopped on a dime. So that's what the levels are there for, to give you that solid guidance to where you can work on executing around those levels. And I think if you do that, you get some very objective entries and very objective exits if you're trying to actively trade it. So I hope those levels helped you, and I hope they help you this afternoon as well. If you're new here, I really appreciate your time. Take a moment and hit the subscribe button and the alarm bell. That way you'll get all the extra content that I publish throughout the day and each and every morning to set you up well for a good day of trading. That would be great to have you on board. Thank you very much. So have a good afternoon, day of trading. This has been Chris Buss with Traders Profit Compass. Talk to you next time.